Okay, I'm going to do a small drywall repair here. I'd like to show you some of the fundamentals of drywall. You can see here some two 2x4s here and one here. When we repair this, we're going to mark those out. I'm going to use a level so I know exactly where they're at. Watch here. I set it even here, and I look at my bead there. And now I know that this is the outside perimeter. Now I'm going to visually go about 3/4 of an inch. 2x4 is 1.5 inches. Now I'm going to try to do this entire repair using hand tools, so you'll be able to do it yourself at home. Of course, I'm a professional. Now, you see what I'm doing here? I'm going to put a center mark right here. That's the center of the 2x4. And I'll transfer that line. I take a look at my level bead right there. Try to make it level right there. And I'm going to score a mark here. Before I can do any cutting, I'm going to lay out the whole job. Now, here's the last 2x4. Like this. And right here, again, I've got that thing right in my way there. I'm going to move that. Okay, back to where we were. I'm going to make a mark here in the center of this 2x4, like this. And I'm going to mark it C for center. That's what a carpenter generally does. And then I've got my level bead set up. And I'm going to mark this piece all the way where I'm planning to do the cut at. Like that. Now, I want to end it someplace. I don't want to just go up, up, up. See, I'm going to make a level line here again. And just score a mark here. Now, I'm going to cut this out by hand to show you that you don't really have to... Oh, I'm sorry. I have one more mark, a level here. Here's someplace. Okay, now I'll show you what I'm going to do. Get a regular knife here. You call these X-Acto knives. I'm going to just cut out everything that I marked out here. Real simple. I'm just push this in all the way in. It hits the 2x4 and pull it back. Here again. Sometimes it takes five pulls like this. Now, this piece should just pop right off. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Isn't that easy? Now, I'm going to do the same thing with a bigger size piece. I'm going to have to get that out of the way in a second, but... Okay. There we go. I like to come fatter than my line. Just a very little bit. Okay, I'm going to just get this out of the way. Whenever you're dealing with drywall, you're going to deal with a small amount of obstacles. A trick of the trade is take that screw when you pop it off, put it right back in there so you aren't looking for it later. There you go. You'll be able to find that. Now, here we go again. I'm going to cut 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 times here. It's going to be very easy to see that you could do this yourself. Instead of bringing in a professional, kind of do the whole job in 20 minutes. I'm not putting a timer on it. Like I say, I'm a professional. But see all this mess here? I'm going to have a straight line when I'm done. There's a lot of doing a small piece like this, basically it'd be a small square, it'd be a piece of cake compared to a larger piece like what we're doing. If you see here, right here, I'm hitting a nail. Right here, I'm hitting a nail. And here, I have to go to the other side of the nail to make my cut. Every time I hit one, I know it because I can feel it. And then look, I'm coming up from the bottom. Instead of pulling down, I'm going to pull up. This is just a matter of technique. And here, see it's flush against the stud? I'm going to go a little beyond my line. Okay, that's all cut. Now I'm going to open up the top piece here. Look how far down my blade goes. I try to push it in there. You don't want to go all the way over. You want to come back. Like this. Now, this piece should be ready to pull out. And, I'm trying to put my garbage in the garbage container. A lot of times you're dealing with somebody's carpet at home. And look at that split right on the stud there. And now I'm going to do it. I call it cleaning it up a little bit. So that's getting this piece out. Now this is just cleaning it up. Anytime I find those nails, I have a choice. I can either pound them down or pull them out. Whatever's easiest for you. Okay, those are cleaned up. I'm taking out the drywall here, halfway on the stud, whatever it takes to pull it out. Now see half the stud there. That's what I'm looking for. Now whenever you get nails, you need to pull them out. Two ways to pull them out. One's simply with a hammer, like that. Another one up here, right there. As you dig, you're going to find them. Just take your hammer and you've got to pull along the stud side, because if you pull this way, you're going to make a hole in the wall. You don't want to do that. There's another one up here. Get a hold of it, and then, like I say, turn it so you're pulling it out along the stud. The stud or 2x4, or whatever you want to call the framing. And it's pretty easy to clean up the hole, this side. If there's a little glue or something, you don't have to worry about everything. Just try to get as much off as you can. Okay, a couple of nails here. Okay, that's part one, is taking the drywall off. Part two is making the next piece. So I'm going to take a measurement of the two largest parts of the project. 47 inches, if you can see there. And then this way is 20 21, you want to get to the farthest point. So we'll cut that piece off, 47 by 21. I'll show you how easy that is. Okay, I'm going to make one cut 47 and a quarter. I'm going to make that cut first. And I have a square lined up here. I mark that, 47 and a quarter. Take my razor knife and score it real deep on one side of the drywall, like this. Now, I'll show you how to break a piece of drywall. Put it down like this, and you just hit it with your hand on the back side, and I like to show you how that's cut on the back side here. Just take your knife, and you cut halfway down and halfway back up. Try to hold on to the two pieces. It's just paper and cardboard. Now I'm going to make the other cut. Okay, now I'm going to make the other cut, 20 and a quarter. Of course, your pieces will all be different than mine, but this is just giving you a general idea. I set that up at 20 and a quarter. And do the same thing, and just take and score it nice and deep on one side. Look, I'm keeping my hand away from the knife. A lot of times it's easier just to make a couple of scores like this. I'd like to show you again how easy it is to break it. Just take the piece and I'm going to hit it from the back side with my fist, just like that. It is just as easy as it looks. Like I say, I cut halfway here, then I come back and cut the other half. And that's my scrap. Now, I'm going to go over here, take two more measurements. I'd like to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to take this measurement here, 15 and a half, but I'm going to check it all the way along here, 15 and a half. 15 and a half will work. And then I'm going to take this small measurement here, 15 inches. So 15 and a half and 15 inches up to get rid of this piece. So, okay, doesn't matter which one you do first. I'm going to do 15 up and make what I call a rat's tail. And I'm going to make 15 and a half here. Make these two measurements. And this time, I'm going to mark these two out so I can get a visual of what I'm doing. I'm using a Sharpie magic marker. Like this and like this. Now this is a shortcut here, so I'm going to just go ahead and dig that one out with my knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop out the line like this. And I'm going to go all the way through. Look, I'm going to push this knife in. It's just like that. Now I'm all the way through it. Now I can freehand this if I want. I'd like to show you how that's done. You just basically want to just score it again. None of this has to be perfect because you're going to cover it with a 2-inch wide piece of tape. It's the same thing. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to grab it and snap it like this. Very simple. And that's the throwaway. Come over here and show you how I'm going to install this piece. First I'm going to put it in here and make sure that it fits. Okay, the next step, if you have a drill gun, is to screw the drywall onto the studs. I'm using 1 5/8 inch screws. Normally, they're black. I like to buy these because they don't rust. So want to angle where that stud was, and you want to sink that screw head a little bit. It doesn't matter if that busts out a little bit. So first you tag it up with a couple so it doesn't fall down. And then you put them, say, every 8 inches or 10 inches. Now that one totally missed, so I'm going to angle it more. That happens all the time. But I don't want to leave that screw in there. So to take it out, you just press a little bit down on your drill, and it releases it. Like I said, I'm going to put a few screws in all the way around. And you got to try to remember where your bottom plates are at. They're always at the bottom, 1.5 inches up. You don't want to put a screw too close to the corner because you'll get a blowout. You break the piece of drywall. And if you don't have screws, you can use any type of small nail with a head on it and pound those in. Like I say, anybody, even a housewife, can do this particular small job here if you watch these videos right here. And if you're using a nail, you want to sink that nail. See how I'm sinking these screws in here? Nothing could be worse. It's not bad, but if you have the screw head sticking up, you won't be able to sand that. Like I said, staying away a little bit from the corners, and I know that putting them all in an angle, they're not going straight in. The only exception to going straight in, I like to show you that right now. Just look, this right here, there was a stud here, and it goes all the way down here. So that's the only time. Okay, now, if you want to put a screw in flat instead, right in here is the stud that would be along this line. You can see that stud up here, and it carries down. Now, the only difference is I'm screwing straight in, and I still want to bring it just a little bit below surface. To be cautious, you want to set your drill down so it's not at full speed. You want to slow it down so you have real good control of it. And like I said, I'm using smaller screws here, 1 1/4 instead of 1 5/8. And that completes that part of this. Now I can check to see if there's any screws sticking up that I don't like. Everything's great. Okay, for the next part of this project, we're going to tape the seams. There are several types of tapes. I'm using one that has an automatic stick to it, and it has perforated holes. There's 2 different types of tape other than this. One's a fiberglass web-looking tape, and one's a solid paper tape. This is the one I like the best. You just stick it on here, right on the center, and pull. Now watch, I'm pulling this piece on the back here after I'm lining it up kind of straight. And just press it on. Look at how much work we're getting done already. Now this is the more expensive of the tapes. You just break it off here, stick it on. And then the same here with these other spots here. You see this hole here? I'm going to float it right by with my tape. And I'm going to push mud into that hole by just forcing it down. I mean, doesn't this look easy? Couldn't your wife do it? You know. Okay. Now, the solid tape is much stronger. I'm going to show you how you would actually put a piece of solid tape on, even though I'm not using it right now. You see that big hole there? On the solid tape, you're going to fill that in first, which I'm going to do anyway because I don't want to have a very soft spot here. And it's going to take a little longer for this to dry. And there's another damaged spot there. I'll show you how to fix that one in a minute. Now the only difference is now I'm cutting this piece because I'm just going to touch it onto there, and I'm going to trowel it down this time a little bit with my knife, and I don't want to overwork it. I'm done with that piece. Now, you see this hole here? I like to fill it in first, and then put a piece of tape over that. Now, because that's wet, I'm just going to break a piece of tape off, put it on there like this, and I'm trying not to have any extra sanding, so I'm going to just press it down. Now, I've got my mud started. I'd like to show you how to mud. I've got a 5-gallon bucket here of what's called lightweight all-purpose Durabond. You can call it joint compound. You can call it drywall mud. And I'm going to work right out of the bucket. This stuff's much stiffer than a top coat. But I just press it on, and I work it out a little bit. Now remember that spot here? I'm just gonna put that piece of tape under all of this. You don't want to leave a lot of excess drywall because you don't want to do a lot of sanding. Now remember, this was wet here. I'm just going to stick that piece of tape inside of there. Now, like I say, the more of these you leave, the more sanding you'll have to do. Take a look at how I'm doing this. I'm not putting the mud up and down. I'm putting it side to side. I'm going to put several dabs on there, and then I'm going to make a long stroke to work it out. Okay, now I'm going to come right up to this electric box, and I know that it's hollow in here, so I'm just going to force mud into that. So now I pushed it in, and I'm still working this up to the corner here. And I don't know if you can see this, but I'm pushing this in. It's like frosting. And now I just want to make a long sweep here. Now look, you see that shadow there? That's fine. You can leave it, and you can sand that off. Now I'm going to put a coat over here. This is a rougher edge, so I'm going to just push my mud into there. It's called mud because it's kind of sloppy, you know. If you take a look on the ground here, I left a pile of drywall debris and everything there. I left that there on purpose because when I'm dripping this mud, it's not going to be sticking to my floor. It's going to be an easy pickup tomorrow. Now, remember, you got to push it in. So, watch what I'm doing. I've got mud at the end of my trowel here. And I just take that and I start right in the middle. I push it in. I mean, I'm actually doing it with my wrist, but I'm just showing you. I'm pushing it in and oozing out. And each time I'm doing that, push it in and push it, pull it over. See, I've got a little bit of a dam up here, like that. Now, what I'm doing is I'm really coming down this side here for my first stroke, and then I'm wiping off the excess in the bucket, and then I'm coming down the other side, so I'm letting this side float, and this side I'm pressing down. It's real simple like that. You see that mistake there? Don't worry about it. We'll sand that out, because if you overwork it, you're going to have problems. In drywall, it always takes 2 or 3 coats to get it. This is the build-up coat, so you want this to be the thickest. The next 2 coats are just going to be a glazing. And watch again. I'm kind of pushing down on one side, but I'm actually just doing it with my trowel. And then I'm pushing down on this side. And what I've got is a center calip there. It'll be easy to sand. That's the first coat. Don't sit here and overwork it. Thank you very much. How's that? Okay, now I'm going to do the sanding stage. This is a typical 4-inch palm sander, it's called. I have 120 grit sandpaper. It's pretty fine. It's because I don't want coarse to make a bunch of scratches in my drywall. Now, I'm going to try to take these calips off of here. The sanding is kind of noisy, but I'm going to show you how quickly you take those off. You want to watch not to over sand and make the paper expose. So watch here. See how quickly that K-lip came off. I did one side, now I'm going to do the other side. You don't want to take too much. Okay, I'm going to continue sanding. Now you can see this area of the wall is a mess. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm going to knock these K-lips down. Right here where you see a little of the tape coming through, you don't want to play with that. We're going to put more mud over that. Whenever you see any of these defects, we're going to mud that. We got the first coat on there. That locked the project. If you remember, we filled in here, and now that is solid. And then... just a little more. Now remember, I'm using a power sander. A lot of people don't have a sander of any kind. All you need to do is get a piece of sandpaper out and sand that. Depends what kind of a look you're looking for. All of these here, I'm going to mud right now. Now, before you mud, if you've sanded, you want to dust off the area. I don't care if it's a huge amount or a little amount, because when you put drywall mud onto a dusty surface, it won't stick, and it'll look like you can't even do it. So a little bit of dusting, and now I'm going to use a different kind of drywall. So I can tell you what these are. This is lightweight, all-purpose. This is topping. Topping is much smoother than the base coat. If you're only going to pick one drywall mud, you're only going to buy maybe a gallon. You want to buy topping. You don't want to buy just that one. Okay, now I'm going to open this one up. Now, a lot of times you want to use a drywall tray. That's what this is. And look, I'm going to scoop into here and put some in my tray. But you can also work out of the bucket. Now, this is my second coat. I'm going to use what's called an 8-inch and or a 10-inch trowel. It's much wider. What you want to do is get a little bit on your trowel, and you're going to make a wide coating all the way around again. If you remember some of these faults here and here and here, and that little piece, we're just going to float over that with a much wider trowel. If you remember here, I got a piece of paper sticking out. I'm just going to put a lot of mud on that, get rid of it. Okay, that's about that seam. Now, you see all these here, they're low spots. You want to make sure you press your mud into there. Watch again, I'm just pulling it out. I'm pulling the K-lips off of each side so I don't have like a trailer. And what I'm doing is I go sideways all the way down the seam, and then I'm going to pull it up to dress it up. Like this. Okay, now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the trowel on one side, and remember that you have a high point there. You just float it back like that. Wipe off the mud. You can go from top to bottom or bottom to top. It really doesn't matter. more seam. If you want to take these big stuff off, you can, but you can sand them off later. Same thing again. I'm going to go from side like this. Remember our corner, we had filled that in. It doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed on a job like this. But if you only have one tool, I'd just buy the 6-inch, because you can do this whole job. I like to show you with the 6-inch also. It doesn't have to. You don't have to buy 2 tools if you're just making a small repair like this. Now again, I'm going to pull one side up. I'm going to wipe that off. If you're working on the bucket, you can wipe it out there. And I'm going to pull the other side like that. All that right there is going to sand out the next time, and then the third time will be the top coat. Okay. Okay, I'm getting ready to sand the second coat. You can see it's dry here, solid as a rock. Now, there's these K-lips here and here, but really we're almost done with the entire job. Okay, I'm going to start sanding. Now I'm sanding from the bottom up so I don't get dust on the project, so the dust stays down. That little furrow there, what you need to do is get it out with the edge of this sander by just working it. Now, if you remember, we did one small patch over here. I'm going to also sand that, but really it's almost considered a separate part. Anytime you have any dings, they're just a small separate part of the project. Okay, just one spot there, and I think I'm in good shape here and here.